strong as you can.
And you have some tissues over there? You have some water over there?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I already started my motor running.
No, we're going to start off with your name. You know your name.
My name? Jose.
Serena.
Serena, Sarah.
Or you could tell me that you could tell me all of them. Tell me all of them. You're telling it to me. You're
like-
not telling it to the camera.
It's like my name, the names of my town.
Okay.
I have a few names too.
Okay. You could say that.
Okay? We're ready.
Okay. Tell me
One
when.
one second.
You're going to tell me when, right? Tap me or whatever.
I'll give you.
Would you tell me your name?
My name is Susan Boyer. This
Can
is
you
my
spell that?
Boyar.
And what was your maiden name?
My maiden name was Mermelstein, and my other names were, when I came to this country, was Sarah. Before that was Serena. That was my Czech name. And in this country, they named me Susan. So now I'm Susan.
Who named you Susan?
Actually, a cousin of mine. He didn't think that I looked like a Sarah. His name is Eli.
And what's your birth date?
Was born, I think, the 8th, August 25th, 1927.
And how old are you now?
67.
Where were you born?
I was born in Czechoslovakia.
What was the name of the town?
The town was named Darabratov, that was in Jewish. Dragobatvalva was in Hungarian. Darabratova was in Russian. And Dragobatvalva was in Hungarian. The little town with 4 names.
How little a town was it?
Very little. It's, I think, maybe we had 1,000 population, and out of the 1,000 were about 100 Jews, maybe less.
Did you live in a house or an apartment?
We had a house, yeah.
What kind of a house? Do you want to describe it to us?
Well, it was made from brick, and there was what they would call 2 bedrooms right now, and a kitchen. It was not too big, but it was okay.
What language did you speak at home?
I spoke 3 languages when I first started talking. I spoke Jewish, Russian, and Czech.
Do you still speak these languages?
Not much, but then I picked up other languages on the way. I spoke a little bit Italian, a little bit of German, Hungarian. I spoke Hungarian, and I started learning a little Hebrew too, but didn't go too far because I was supposed to go to Israel, but I decided to come to America.
Do you still have friends who speak any of those languages?
Yes.
And do you speak with
my
them?
brother speaks fluently 6 languages. When I get together with my friends, we speak mainly English.
Could you tell us a little bit about the Dragobatva?
Oh, that little town was, there was a dirt roads. We had no running water. We had to carry our water up a hill with 2 pails, one on one side and the other one on the other side. We had no electricity. We had a little farm. My father was tailor. My mother was a dressmaker, and we had livestock like chickens and cows and calves and some land. We had some land with fruit trees, and it was not bad. And we also had, my grandmother had a house, and the same, like on one lot we had two houses, and my grandmother lived in one, who I adored, and she had one big room which they made into a school. So we had like a school house, but it was only a one-room schoolhouse. And we learned Czech. This was our Czech school, and that was kind of fun, having that on our property. So, but that didn't last too long. Unfortunately, it was taken away.
Did you ever go to Hebrew school?
Not too much, a little. I went to Russian school for the first grade, and the rest of my school, which was interrupted in the seventh grade, was Czech.
What kind of a child were you?
I was normal. I had to do a lot of work. We had a lot of chores to do when we were kids. Otherwise, it was fairly normal. I had friends. There were boys and girls who used to come around, and it was not bad.
What kind of chores did you do?
Oh, we had to milk the cows, and we had to take care of the chickens and gather the eggs, and do all kinds of help my mother in the house, and then go to school. It was a full day.
Mm-hmm. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I always wanted to be in America. That was my dream, because I had relatives here. I had my father's two brothers and two sisters were here. And as a kid, I always dreamt of being in America. Yeah, that was my big dream.
What was Jewish community life like?
The Jewish community, everyone in these, actually, in all the towns surrounding, and everybody was religious. We all had religion and religion-minded. And but there was not too many Jews, but we kind of stuck together.
How did you observe Shabbat?
We had a very nice Shabbat. We had, my father used to sing with us, and we had dinner, Friday night dinner, and they went to synagogue Friday and Saturday, and they prayed a lot. They always prayed.
Daily?
Yeah, they always prayed. They was praying. The boys had to go to school from early in the morning, first to Hebrew, and then to regular school, and then to Hebrew. It was like all day school.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had two brothers. My mother had 6 children, but 3 of my brothers died when they were the firstborn was 6, and then one was about 4, and one was about 3. They died because we had no medication, and we had no doctors available, and it was very primitive. And they died of pneumonia at this young age. They were beautiful. 2 were born after me, 2 boys, and the firstborn. And we were 3 siblings left, which was my 2 brothers and myself. And out of the 3, I have 1. One was unfortunately killed almost the last day of the war.
Do you know how your parents met?
My parents were introduced My father was in the World War, First World War, and my mother was, my mother lived in another town. My father lived in one town. And they were introduced, and my father came home on furlough, and they got married.
How long did they know one another before they married?
Not long, not long, because it was everybody, all the marriages those days were kind of put together. So they were a nice couple. They were
Do you have any
very
aunts
nice,
or uncles
I have,
living
my-
in your town? Were they?
during that time, and aunts or uncles, yeah, I had some aunts and uncles, but they were, most of them were here. My father's 2 sisters and 2 brothers were in America. They came before the war. And this is why I wanted to come here. I want to be.
Did your father ever have thoughts of coming to the United States?
Oh yeah, my father was going to come. As a matter of fact, he was on the ship already, and he didn't want to leave his mother. He was the only one there, and he didn't want to leave his mother, and he went back. If he came here, I would have been born here. Right?
Right. Did you know what was happening to the Jews in Germany?
We didn't know what was happening because we had very little communications there. We had no radio, no TV, and definitely, and they had they used to bring in a paper here and there. So more or less they knew, but they didn't really talk about it. I didn't. I don't know what was going on.
And what were the first signs of danger?
First sign of danger was when they came to, when the Hungarians took over, when there was no more Czechoslovakia. And the Hungarians, first the Ukrainians took over, and it was bad. And then they were really restricting the Jews from doing things. And then the Hungarians took over, occupied us, I should say, and they didn't let no Jews work. I mean, they just couldn't, my father couldn't sew, my mother couldn't sew anymore. And they kept us very restricted. They put those yellow bands on our arms. And we were very restricted to a lot of things.
When was that?
During the Hungarian regime.
At what year? Do you remember?
That was in 1944, the beginning of 1944, yes. And then this is, actually it started a little before. In 43 it started, the restrictions started. And by 44 they got worse. And that's when they took us away. It was in April of 1944. It was the last day of Passover. And that's when our big problem started.
Were there any preparations made prior to the occupation?
No, everything was just happening so fast, these occupations, and it was just, like I said, we didn't have any warnings, no warnings at all. It was just, they just came and took us. No warnings.
What happened in the wars?
Except for like I said, the few months before that they just restricted us from doing things. Probably.
When you say they took us, who was that?
The Hungarians gendarmes took us. They are the ones who took us and handed us over to the Germans, to the Nazis.
And what happened when the war started?
The war was going on. The war was on all over, but not in our town, not in our little town yet, but the war was going on. And what happened to us is when they took us away to another town, and they put us, called Munkac, and they put us in there for they put us into a brick factory, and they let us in there, shoved us in there, and we stayed there for about maybe a month, and then they took us and put us into those open cattle cars.
Where did you slept and ate in the brick factory?
Yeah, we didn't have any food. We were just whatever we brought from home, and we didn't bring too much because it was Passover. It was the last day of Passover, and we just had matzah and whatever we brought from the house. They didn't give us any food at all, just whatever we brought.
Were you together with your brothers and your parents?
I was together with my one brother and my mother and father and all the hometown people. My other brother, my older brother, Martin, he was not home. He was in Budapest, and he was learning a trade there, and they took him into a slave labor camp. So he was not with us, my older brother. Only my other brother, who was 2 years older than me, he was home. And
did you know your brother was in a slave labor camp at that time?
no, I didn't. I didn't know. We didn't know what happened to him because we didn't know what was happening to us. You know, it was just things were happening so fast.
How did you find out about your brother?
I didn't know anything about my brother until after liberation. And then we just met accidentally in Budapest, but that's later on.
So how did your life change after the occupation?
My life changed after, well, during my stay in the concentration in Auschwitz, and then we went to other camps after that because the war has flourished, and they were, you know, the Russians were coming in from one side. And
let's go back to your going from Munkac from the brick factory to Auschwitz. How did you get to Auschwitz?
Oh, they put us into cars, cattle cars, and we were just we just stayed in those cattle cars until we came to Auschwitz.
How long would that take?
I probably took about 5 days.
Were you fed during that
Days and night.
time?
No, we didn't get any food. Just we didn't have whatever we had from home. We didn't get any food at all from them.
What
no
time
food,
of year was that?
No food, no water, no nothing. They just those trains just kept going and going until they stopped.
What time of year was that?
That was in what time of the year? I would say it was May, at the end of May.
And can you describe the scene when you arrived at Auschwitz?
Yes, very well, because I'll never forget it as long as I live. We arrived there around 10 o'clock at night, and it was all lit up when the trains finally stopped. And all we saw through the cracks in the train is a lot of Nazis with dogs yelling, and they had women and men, the Gestapo and the Gestapo women, and they were just, it was just a lot of yelling and screaming, and then they had these men who were wearing striped uniforms with hats, and we saw that they were taking everything, all our belongings, whatever they took off the trains, they were taking everything away. And my mother started dressing, putting clothes on. She thought she was only 45 years old, and she thought if whatever she'll wear, they're gonna let her keep it. So she made herself look like she was 60 because she was putting on kerchiefs and sweaters and everything that she thought she wanted me to wear them too, but I don't think I did. But anyway, they finally opened up the doors, and they pushed us out, and they separated the men, the women, children, women with children, everything was, just kept separating. And the last time I saw my parents, the last time I saw my brother, until I found my mother's sweater that she made among the clothes that we were sorting, that when they put us into work, we were sorting. I found my mother's sweater because she made it, and I recognized it, and I wore that sweater. But I never saw them again.
I see you
saw
have
my
a number
grandfather.
on your arm. What number is that?
That was actually the name. That was like a name. They didn't call us by any name. They just yelled 5698. And that was my name. That was my number. But these numbers, when they put these numbers on, you qualified to work for them. That's why they put the numbers. Not everybody. Most of the Jews got the numbers over here. But when they put it on the arm, that qualified you to work. And this was part of this Auschwitz they called it Birkenau, and that was the work camp. They took people to work, and then my group of people, they put into a place called Brzezinki, the Brzezinki, and they had like 4 gas chambers all around. We were in barracks there. They put us in barracks, and we were working at the clothes, that the people brought in, and all the clothes, all the belongings. We had to assort that. That was our work.
Was that considered a good job?
That was considered a job that we had to do. I wouldn't call it good, because nothing was good over there. Everything was no good. And we were working. We had to put the clothes into bundles and put our number on the bundle, in case they didn't like the way you did it. And there was a gas chamber waiting for you. So you had to be very careful with that.
Did you ever find valuables in the clothes?
We had we found all kinds of valuables, but that had to be separated. Everything was separated. We were assorting everything. We were taking like shirts and towels and valuables. Everything went separate. They took everything. That was being shipped to Germany.
And what were living conditions like in Auschwitz?
We lived in barracks, and we lived in bunk beds. We had bunk beds, and the living conditions started out with 5 o'clock in the morning. They call it Seelapel. They took you out, they woke you up at 5, and you had to go outside and stand 5 in a row. And God forbid one didn't show up, you stay there for hours no matter how the weather was. They just kept you there until they found the one that was missing. But most of the time they were, unless somebody died. And then they gave you, we had this like a helmet. It looked like a helmet, like a rusty helmet. And they gave us this black, what they called coffee, which was not coffee. And they gave us a piece of bread that was like this, like a piece of brick. And that was the daily food. In the evening they give you a little soup in the same helmet, in the same bowl. And we just worked, and we had to mind our business, We couldn't say anything or do anything. And we watched the people coming in transports and going to the gas chamber. We watched them. We watched those people we heard them scream. And the next thing we see the chimneys and the smoke and the smell from the burning flesh. And this we had to watch day and night. And they were coming in from the other camps where they didn't have gas chambers. They were bringing transports one after another, one after another, one after another. We saw them going, and we watched all this here behind barbed wires. And there's just nothing anybody could do except just watch these atrocities being done to human beings. And I don't know how people could do that, how one human being could do this to another.
Were you ever able to warn anybody? Or
There was absolutely, you can't warn anybody because we were surrounded by electric wires. And every few, maybe 1,000 feet they had these Nazis, these SS, pointing down with rifles at you. And they were up there, watching every move you made. There was no warning to anybody. There was no outside communications with anybody. Not even with the other, like we were in one camp and then there was another camp. You couldn't even talk to the other people. You couldn't go near those wires. If you went near the wires, you were electrocuted.
Did you ever see anybody electrocuted by that?
Yes, I saw people being electrocuted. I saw people being torn up by dogs, by big shepherds. If they just let the dogs tear them apart. There was just we just didn't mean anything. We were just like something that you want to exterminate, like a cockroach. That's what we were, cockroaches.
How long were you
They
in-
just never thought that we're going to be freed. No way. It was just accidental that we're here. It's a miracle.
And what was that
Miracle.
like for you?
Well, Auschwitz was not my last stop because from Auschwitz they took us away from there because the war was closing in from the Russians, the Russian side. And
When was that?
that was in January of 1945 when they took us away from, they were taking us from Auschwitz, and then they put us also, first we walked and walked and walked and walked in the snow, and then they put us into cattle cars, only this time they were open. And the snow was falling on us, and no food, no drinks, no nothing, and I don't know how long we were in those open cars until we came to a place called Ravensbrück.
Yeah. This is going very fast. It's
Going too fast? No,
But I just want to go back to that. Right now?
If you could, here's the
Okay.
tape two. Okay.
This is March 23rd, 1995. We're interviewing Susan Boyer. My name is Goldie Weiss. I'm the interviewer. We're in North Miami. We're doing this interview in English. This is tape 2.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Susan, before we...
But if you should tell me that when you go like this, you want me to stop, because I wasn't sure.
Okay.
Because I could just go on and
Okay.
without stopping,
Are we on?
Yes.
I'll be on.
Before we go on with this interview, I wanted to go back to something. You said you kept your mother's sweater when you found it amongst the clothes. Were you able to do that? Did they let you do that?
Well, not exactly, because we were wearing uniforms. we had two barracks over there. One was red with white polka dots, and one was blue with white polka dots. And we had also wore these kerchiefs, the same colors. And those were our uniforms. That's all we were able to wear. But also on the back of our this dress, we had a red stripe, the paint stripe. But I wore that sweater with a red stripe, put the red stripe on it, and I wore it, but it was not permissible. I was just wearing it when I was allowed to wear it.
Which was when?
Indoors, where they did not see it, So I wore it all summer long. I slept in it. I just kept it because my mother made that. And it was something to hold on to. And it was a hot summer, but I kept that sweater and I wore it as much as I could. It was a maroon sailor collar. It was a long sweater with black trim. And I watched my mother making that, and I just wanted to keep something, and I did.
It's
I kept it.
understandable. Can we go back to, from Auschwitz, you were sent to Ravensbrück.
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 Mm-hmm.
And how were you sent there?
We went there by those open cars, cattle cars, it was in January, it was very cold, and we had nothing to change in, and we had no water, and we were like probably about 70 in each car, 70, 80 in a car, just thrown together, and so we kind of huddled, and the only water we were able to get is the snow we licked the snow of each other. By the time we came to this place, Ravensbrück, which is God-forsaken place, we were lousy. We had lice. We had no clothes to change. We was in the same clothes, the same stuff that we left Auschwitz. We were still wearing it. And it was a horrible place with snow on the ground, slush. We had no place to sleep. It was just awful. And we were in that place for, I would say, a month.
What happened when you arrived at Ravensbrück?
We arrived there, and they had a lot of Russian prisoners there, and it was just wild. It was just a wild place. Everybody was stealing from, if we had any kind of little food, they were stealing. In order to keep your food, you had to keep it in here. If you had a piece of bread, you had to keep it in there. They stole it. They stole, people become like animals, and that's what we were. Stealing from each other the little food that there was. And we just didn't do nothing there. We just there. We were just there. I don't know why, but we were just there.
What was a day like in Ravensbrück?
Oh, it was just indescribable. It was bad, very bad.
What time did you get
Because
out?
we had no place to sleep. At least in Auschwitz we had bunk beds. There we had nothing. We were just on the floor. We were just like rats. There's just nothing. All you heard there is screaming, and everybody was screaming. Everybody was hitting each other. It was wild. It was wild. But after that, they put us on trucks.
I want to go back a little. Did you have to answer to an appel there every day?
Oh yeah, PAL, yes. For some reason, yes. We had to they always counted us to see that nobody's missing. And always by the number, they called us no name, just numbers.
And did you stay with the people that you arrived with from Auschwitz?
We tried to stay together with the people, you know, my friends from home, relatives from home. Yeah, we always stayed together. We always huddled together.
Which relatives were with you?
Well, we had cousins, you know, that are around. You know, there's some of them are in Israel, some of them in Chicago, and they're all over. Yeah, cousins.
So you were able to stay together a little bit.
We stayed together. We were always together. We were always together with them.
And what did you eat over there?
They were just giving us this horrible food. You know, there was just like you wouldn't give it to pigs. You wouldn't feed that to pigs or cows. Something that they used to cook. Give us, I don't know what. There's no name for it, but it was. I wouldn't call it food, because it wasn't food.
Did you do any work there?
There was no work over there. We were just kind of milling around.
Was there any
nothing.
crematoria there?
No, there was no crematorium there. Just if you died, you died. But if you there was nobody, they didn't burn you over there. But a lot of people were dying.
How long did you stay at Ravensbrück?
I would say there's maybe a month, maybe 3. Time is we lost time. We just lost time. We didn't know what month it was, or what day it was, or how. We didn't know when a week started or a week. We just didn't know. There was just no time. No time.
So you stayed there for about 2 months?
We didn't have a clock. We didn't know what time it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was really something.
And then what happened?
Then they put us on. From there, they separated a lot of people because they put us on trucks, and they took us to everybody. They took to different places. I wound up someplace like called Malchow, some German. This was in Germany, a German name Malchow, and there they put us in barracks, and there they send us out to work. So our job was there to dig for the what, trench holes for the soldiers, and we were doing this here. And this one occasion, I was way down in the trench hole, and I was with a shovel, you know, shoveling, and I fell asleep and standing up on the shovel. And all of a sudden I was startled. When I woke up, there was a rifle pointing at me. And I said to myself, well, this is the end, so it's the end. But this man, he was an older man, and he was from they called the Luftwaffe. He was from the Air Corps, the German Air Corps. He was wearing blue uniform, blue coat instead of the green one. And he says to me, he says to me in German, I could kill you right now, but I'm going to spare you. And he did.
Were you still wearing the same clothes and everything?
No, once we went to this place, to this Malchow, we had uniforms. We got uniforms again. We got the striped uniforms.
Were you able to keep that sweater?
This one, no, that I couldn't. Once we left Auschwitz, that was the end. I couldn't keep it no more. Mm-mm. No, I lost it.
So that's the job that you did the whole time you were in Malchow?
Yeah, we did that, and we also carried wood from. We had to go into the woods, you know, to the wooded areas and carry. We had to carry wood for something. I don't know what they were doing with the wood, anymore. I don't remember.
There were men and women working?
No, always women were always separated from men. We were in strictly women's places, no men. Men were in different places. They did not mix us. No.
And how long did you stay at Malchav?
We stayed in Malchav till almost the end of the war, because that's when they started bombing. They started bombing, and the bombs were falling like rain. And miraculously, they were falling like the bombs were falling like here in the yard, but they never hit the barracks. So what came out of it is, while the air raids were going and the bombs were falling, the Nazis were hiding in the woods because they didn't want to stay there. So they left. So they left their kitchen. The kitchen's open because they had to escape, and we were, the air raids and the bombs were falling, and we were running to the kitchen to get some food from them while nobody was there.
And who was doing the bombing?
Oh, they were bombing mostly the Americans and the English and I guess the Russians. They were bombing from all over. They were just, the planes were constantly flying over, and it was war. We were in war. In the middle of the war.
Never hit the barracks?
Never hit the barracks. This was really something. It hit all around, but not the barracks.
And
That
for
was
how
really
long?
something, huh?
For how long was that going on?
That was going on very often. There was not every. It didn't happen. You know, it happened almost a daily routine.
For how long?
Till May 8.
Was that going on for a month, a week?
I would say it was going on for a couple of weeks. That was going real. This was towards the end of the war, and that's where I was liberated. I was liberated there by the Russians, not the Americans, by the Russians. And like I went to see Schindler's List, and because I didn't know who Schindler was while I was there, I didn't know who the list was, and this is one of my main reasons that I wanted to put this on tape, and I didn't even then. I was liberated by the Russians, not by the Americans. I was liberated by a Russian army, not by one person.
Before you go on with the story about Schindler, because I'd like to get to that, I'd like to know what it was like on the day of liberation.
On the day of liberation, it was during the night. Everything usually happens at night. Our place was, they were going to blow it up. They never expected us to be liberated because they put mines on, they mined it, you know.
Did you know that?
Oh, yes. And they were going to do that, except they never got a chance to do it because it was happening so fast that they had to escape. So like in the middle of the night, they had to leave everything and leave. And they never got a chance to blow us up. And the Russians really snuck up on them. And they just had to leave very quickly. They were running towards the Americans. They didn't want to be occupied by the Russians. They didn't want to be freed by the Russians, occupied by the Russians, because the Russians were treating them badly. And the Americans and the English, they were being lenient, and that's why they were running towards the Americans, and we were left alone. In the middle of the night, like in the morning we woke up and we have Russians there. Instead of the Germans, we have the Russians. And that's another story because they were not nice. The Russians were not nice to us at all.
Tell us about it.
Well, they liberated us, all right, and I'm grateful for that. But I want to tell you, I personally weighed 85 pounds. So when you say about food, there was no food. And so were all the rest of the women, the rest of the women that was with me. We were all like this. And those Russians were giving us, first of all, they started feeding us with food that we should have never eaten. And they were giving us vodka during the day. And at night, they were raping us. And it wasn't one soldier, but sometimes a bunch of soldiers and one girl, with one girl. And we didn't have, at one point, you know, there was no transportation over there because everything was bombed out. So there was about 20 of girls, my friends. We got a horse somehow, I don't know from where, and a buggy. And we followed that horse and buggy. And when we came during the day, and when it came in the evening, we usually found a barn, you know, to go to bed to sleep. And the Russians found us there, and we couldn't. They wouldn't let us sleep. They were bothering us. They just wanted to have fun with us. So we had to get up in the middle of the night and run from one place to another to get away from the Russian soldiers.
Who was with you at that time?
I had just friends, you know, that we were together. Some of us are through the whole war. Some of us, we were just through the whole thing. We were together. We were sticking together. And some new people that we met, you know, from other countries, from Poland, from France, from just refugees.
And what happened then? Where did you run to?
We were just going from place to place, slowly. We were going back, you know. We didn't know where we were going to go. We were just, like, to be very honest with you, we were like, we didn't feel human at all. We just felt like animals. And we were just trying to go back, you know, back like home. But it was not, we can't do it because there's no transportation. So we followed the horse and the buggy, and we got some stuff, you know, from after the war. We got some stuff from whatever we found. There were warehouses filled with Red Cross packages that were sent from here for us. But we never got them. We didn't get those. After the war, we found them. And that's when a lot of people died too, because they found sardines and stuff that our stomachs did not take. You know, we couldn't digest it. So a lot of people got sick and died just from that food.
Why didn't
because
you?
They were eating them.
Did you know better?
I couldn't eat. I was just I just didn't eat till way later on. I started eating, but I couldn't eat. My throat just was so dried up. I couldn't eat. I couldn't eat then.
Were any of your cousins or
Yes,
with you?
Some of the women that I knew, some of the girls, the women that I knew, some of them died. Some of them just got very sick but survived.
And then where did you go?
And then we went some part of the way, like we got as far as borders of Czechoslovakia, of Hungary. First we went to the Hungarian border, and that's when some organization found us
A Jewish organization?
Jewish, yeah, called UNRWA. UNRWA. And there were two organizations. One was Hayas and UNRWA. Two organizations. They found us. Found us, and they kind of brought us back to civilization.
What did they do for you right away?
Well, they did a lot. They gave us food, they gave us clothes, and they gave us shelter, and they asked us where we want to go. You know, they were great help, and things started looking up.
Did you ever go back home?
No, I wanted to go back home, but I met my brother in Budapest.
Was he
In the street, accidentally. I saw him walking, and I turned around, he turned around, and there he was. And once I met my brother, and I was with some of my friends, you know, and we were walking, and this is what happened. And he was already organizing people to go to Israel. He had started to form a group to go to Israel. So I went with him.
How long after the war was this?
This was about a month later. About June or so. So I was liberated, but it had by the end of May. It was the end of May, because I was liberated May 8, and this took about 3 weeks for us to find this organization and have the thing with the Russians. And I joined this organization with my brother, and then things started getting better, you know, and we stayed in Budapest for a while, about 2 months or a month or so.
You stayed in Budapest with the aid of UNRWA and
With
Hayas?
with the organizations, yeah. And they wanted to know whether we have relatives, where we have relatives, you know. So we told them that we have relatives in America. And they found out the names. My brother remembered the name. And they found out that, you know, we have relatives and that they want us here. But my brother didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to hear it. He wanted to go to Israel. He was the organizer. He had people already organized to go to Israel. So he felt like this was the thing to do. And I went along with him. And we were doing it, you know, being organized to go and everything. And we kept moving from Budapest. We didn't stay there too long, and we moved to go closer to where we could take the ship, which was Italy. So by way of, we stayed in Austria for a while, and from Austria we didn't have papers though to go across the borders, so we kind of smuggled. So as we smuggled from Austria to Italy, we were caught in the middle of the night, and they put us in jail.
How were you, what means of transportation were you using?
Walked over the mountains, and that's where they caught us. They caught us and they put us in jail. I think they were the Yugoslavians did that. But they couldn't do anything with us. They just put us in jail. And we kept singing songs, you know, like we're going to Israel. And we sang all night long. We kept doing that. And finally they opened the jail and said, we can't do nothing with these people. Let them go. And we entered Italy. And we got on trains. And we were on a train and we were going. And we stopped. We went to Bari, Italy. And we stayed there. We had the organization, you know. And we did everything that we were supposed to do to go to Israel. one day I myself, I had the yearning. I wanted to be with family. I knew I had aunts and I mean, we knew already that we had aunts and uncles here. And I wanted to be with the family. I want to be with my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, and I really want, and I told my brother of my plan that I want to go to Israel. And, to America, excuse me. And he just didn't want to hear of it. But I had made up my mind, and I wrote to my aunt, who was in the Bronx at the time. She's not here anymore. And I told her that I wanted to come to America. And soon after that, we got a telegram and a letter, and I stepped out of the organization. And I went into a camp. It's called a displaced persons camp in Italy. And I stayed there until they brought me out here.
And how did you come to America?
I came by boat. Yes.
And when was that?
That was May 22nd, 1947.
47. And where did you live?
I lived in Brooklyn. First I stayed with my aunt in the Bronx for a while, and stayed with her for a while. And but most of my friends that I came to America, because a few people came with me, lived in Brooklyn. And that's when I decided I want to be near my friends in Brooklyn. And we were kind of always sticking together. We felt, first of all, the language was easier. I spoke 6 languages at that time already. And I didn't speak English, so for me it was, I was seeking out my friends. And I moved to Brooklyn to be with another aunt of mine. And I stayed with her for about 3 years.
Were people interested in what you went through?
At that time, people were interested, but I was not, we didn't talk. I just couldn't. It was too soon to, couldn't. It took me a long time. I'm finding it very difficult. Like I said, I was really we were like animals, right? He comes up with a horse, right? And
Okay. It's March 23rd, 1995. We're interviewing Susan Boyer. My name is Goldie Weiss. We're here in North Miami. The language is English. This is Slate 3. Tape 3.
Okay, and we are rolling. And you're ready.
All right, we were up to when you came to America. And you were telling us that people possibly were interested in what you went through, but you couldn't talk about it at all.
No. And the only reason I'm talking now about it is because I went to see Schindler's List. And it was very accurate. But I never heard of Schindler, or Schindler's List while I was there. I didn't have it as good as the people on Schindler's List because at least they had food. They were working, but they had food. We didn't have it. Also, at the end of the war, when I saw that the Russians liberated them, but you only had one Russian over there. They only had one Russian who came up and says, "You're free." I was liberated by herds of Russian soldiers, by There were thousands of them all over. And they were not nice. I hate to say that. They liberated us, and I'm grateful for that. Don't misunderstand me. I'm grateful for them liberating us. But we were just in their path. They were not really liberating us. We were there. We were just there in their path, and that's it. They went for whatever they could get. They were not nice to us. They only wanted to rape us, and they succeeded. And the food that they were giving us was bad for us. They tried to get us drunk, with vodka, and all the kind of food that we shouldn't have eaten at the time because our stomachs were so dried out. My throat was so dried out, I couldn't swallow anything. I weighed 85 pounds at liberation. And when I saw the picture, I said to myself, I got to tell the other side of the story, which did not include over there, but there's more to it. There's always more to it. When you think that it tells it all, and it does tell a lot, but it's not all. And it's very difficult for me to talk about it even now. And the reason I didn't do it before is because it's very difficult. I still have friends. I have a girlfriend over here, and I have a cousin who will not come out. She will not talk. They will not go on tape. They can't do it.
Do you have children, Susan?
I have 2 sons, whom I love very much, because I didn't think I was going to have any, because they told us while we were in the camp that they were giving us something in the food that we will never, if we should get freed by some miracle, we will never multiply. A lot of people had experimental things. They took everything out from them, from a lot of the women. I didn't have that, but they were giving us something in the food because, if I could say that, nobody had a period. And all along while we were in Auschwitz, nobody had that. So they were putting something in this whatever food they were giving us, if you could call it that. And I'm very happy to have 2 wonderful sons and 2 wonderful daughter-in-laws and 3 great kids, grandchildren.
Did you
So
ever
I'm
speak
very
to your
lucky.
children about the Holocaust?
I never really, I didn't, because they never asked me. But they know, they went to see Schindler's List, but I never talked to them about it, no, because I only talk if someone asks me, otherwise I don't. It just doesn't come easy. And I just hope and pray to God, and this is another reason I'm here, I'm talking about it, is that it'll never, never, never happen again to nobody. It should never happen to mankind. It's just
When you arrived here in America, let's go back to that.
Mm.
When you arrived here in America,
yes.
what was your life like here in America? Did you work?
Well, I had to go to work. I had to go to make a living for myself.
What did you do?
Being my parents were my father was a tailor, my mother was a dressmaker, I decided that this might be the closest to what I should do. And being also one of my aunts, my aunt in Brooklyn, she was sewing a machine, in a factory. She took me in, and I worked there. I really didn't know too much about it because I was too young when I was home. And she took me in, and I worked as a seamstress, and that was my first job because it was right near where I lived. I lived with my aunt, and it was right there because I didn't know how to talk English or travel. So that didn't last too long, but then I went to work in a hospital, which was also 2 blocks away from where I lived, and I was a waitress in the doctors' and nurses' dining room, interns. Again, I didn't speak the language, so it was very hard. But I didn't have to take. The food was ready for me to serve, so I didn't have to write anything down. I also started going to night school to learn English, and I tried very hard to speak English every chance I had. And I'm still doing it though. And then once I learned how to travel, I got another job sewing because I was making a little more money doing that. And I did that until I I got married. And I met a very nice gentleman, and I got married. He spoke English only. And I was only here 3 years in this country, so I really didn't do too well yet. But somehow we did it. We were able to communicate a little bit. And my husband, I had 2 children. And we were married for 10 years, and he got cancer. He died. I lived in LA at that time when he died. And after that, we had, financially we were not doing too well. So I met through introduction, which was my second husband, whom I married, and found out later he had emphysema. And he was sick for most of our marriage. And he died too. So this follows me, I guess. It's my destiny.
Now you
But
have your 2 sons.
But I'm a survivor, and I survive.
Why do you think you survived?
I have the will to live, and I feel like I always have this feeling like I haven't lived yet, that there's still this. There's still something there, and it will be, and I'll be happy again, hopefully. I'm happy now, though.
Did you ever tell this story before?
No, I didn't. Mm-mm. Not the way I'm telling it to you. Maybe by bits and pieces here and there. When people ask me, I will tell them, but I've never really talked about it like I'm doing now.
Have you ever met some of your ex-camp survivors?
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure. I have one living not far from here. We were together, but there's no way that she will get on to do this here.
Did you meet her by accident?
We met after the war. She was one of the group, and she was living about a mile away from here. I have a cousin who lives in Hollandale, She's also a survivor. And in New York, in California, people. Hmm.
And when you get together, do you talk about the Holocaust?
No, we don't. We really don't. We talk about now and the future, not the past. It's every now, like right now, for instance, it's Passover, and it's a very tough time for me. And if I talk to someone, from my people, I say, oh, it's Passover again, and I just dread it. I don't like this holiday too much. It really brings back the memories. This is really when it started, really started.
Do you still celebrate it, though?
Oh, I go through the motions. But it's...
Your children know how you feel about that, too?
About Passover? Yeah.
Passover.
Yeah, they do. They know I don't like Passover.
Will you be with them this year?
I'm going to be with my oldest son for one night. And one night I'm invited out, so that's easy. It's going to be easy. But the first night I'm invited out, but the second night I'm going to be with my oldest son. My youngest son already got another invitation, so that's okay.
And why did you do this tape?
Like I said, I just did it because one of the reasons is because I told you I went to see Schindler's List, and the other reason is it shouldn't, if there's any way I could relay this message to the world, if I had one wish to make, the only thing I want God to give us is peace and tranquility to all mankind. That's the only wish that I would wish, because that is what we need right now, a lot of it. Yep.
Do you think about the Holocaust often?
Yep. If I don't think about it, I don't want to think about it, but I dream about it. I get nightmares. I don't want to talk about it, though. I really don't want to talk about it.
Have there been any decisions you've made or things that you've done that were directly influenced by the Holocaust?
Well, the only thing that I wanted to know very, very much is whether I could bear children. And this is why I wanted to get married and find out whether I could reproduce, whether I could have children. Unfortunately, I couldn't have more than 2. I probably would have had more, but I couldn't have any more. And that was the biggest thing in my life, my children.
Are you an American citizen?
Oh, I became an American citizen after I was here 5 years in this country. I was already married and I had a son. And when I went over to become a citizen, the judge says, "You're a citizen." That was easy.
How'd that feel?
Oh, wonderful. Oh, yeah. This is the greatest country in the world.
Do you ever
I'm very happy to be here.
Do you ever want to go back to Czechoslovakia?
Well, like I say, if I could get into a helicopter and just go there and see, especially the little town where I come from, because I hear it's changed a lot. I would really like to see where I lived, where I was born, but just for a little bit, for a short while. Yeah, I don't know whether I'll be able to do it, but I would like that. Not, of course, not by helicopter. I would go by plane. Maybe someday.
How do you feel about the way you've lived your life?
Well, there's changes I would have liked to make, but it's pretty good. I mean, I'm a survivor, like I told you. I'm a survivor, and I've survived things. Yes.
What's important to you now?
To stay healthy, mentally and physically. That's very important. My health. I think if you have that, you have everything. And I'm doing everything I can to stay healthy.
Was there anything that we didn't ask that you'd like to survive on this tape?
I think we covered more or less everything. I think we covered whatever I had in mind to talk about.
I want to thank you very much for telling us your story.
You're
That was
quite welcome. Thank you. That was my name.
Thank you.
Oh, I know.
That
But-
I can help.
Oh, so we'll be able to crop it somehow.
I think the parents see that he's a little bit getting too close to me. It's not no good. He can't even call me. He doesn't call me because he says, when I talk to you over the telephone, I don't want to talk to you, I want to be with you. So, isn't that something?
So you see him once a week?
Go ahead and tell us about it.
Susan, you want to tell us about this picture we're seeing?
Well, this picture I found here in America. That one of my aunts had it. I don't know which one. One of his sisters. She had two sisters here. Whether it's Aunt Helen or Aunt Bella, but
Who is this?
this is my father when he was in the First World War.
What was his name?
His name was Solomon. Yes, Solomon. They call him, in Jewish they call him Shlomo. And that's all I have. That's all I have of my family, of my mother. I don't have anything else from my parents.
Who is he
That's
fighting
all.
with?
He was in the Austria-Hungarian War under Franz Joseph. And that was in the First World War. I don't know what year it was, though. But that's all I have from my parents.
Great.
Thank
So
you. E-A-R-L-O-A-N, New Jersey, USA. It had to be USA. She sent it from, and it got to us.
if you think that my aunt, she just died
This
recently.
is the back of the picture,
Right,
by
let's
the
see
way.
that.
This
yes.
is
In the original handwriting that was written on the back of the photo when it was
Yeah.
sent to the United States.
and those are the.
Go ahead and explain that picture to me.
This picture is before they took us away, when we were already restricted to everything, and he was in, they call that Munkatábor, and this is my brother in here, right here, and he did not survive. He was shot almost the last day of the war. And just because they told me this, because he stepped out of the line to get water from a gutter, and he was shot for that, just to get water from a gutter. Stepped out on his friends told me that.
What was his name?
His name was Heschel,
He doesn't have big ears.
doesn't he? Like Shane. See Shane?
Him.
Yeah, see the same ears?
Actually,
Yeah,
there's a big
yeah, yeah, the
resemblance.
ears together.
Yeah.
So go ahead, and again, this person in the middle is your brother?
Yes, the person,
Herschel.
yeah, Herschel. He's with the yellow bands. This was when things started getting tough.
Right.
We were really restricted to a lot of things. Couldn't worship.
But at this
No
point in
worship.
time, you couldn't imagine what was about
No,
to happen.
no. We just knew it was bad. But how bad, we didn't know.
How did you get this picture?
This is also, my brother had it. I don't know, like I say, he did not go to the concentration camp, so he remained with some of the pictures and stuff. He gave it, I took it from him.
You,
Uh-huh.
Go
That's
ahead.
interesting. What
This-
is this picture was saying?
This picture, my brother, who was 2 years older than I, but he was younger, the middle one, he sent this picture to a girlfriend of his. This picture is from the nearest city that we lived. It's called Munkach. And he sent this to his girlfriend. It's like a love letter. To Paulette.
Does that say 43?
It looks like 40,
This is after or before the war?
This was before.
so 40,
1940?
or
Could be. Yeah,
I
this
can't
is
see
his
that.
handwriting,
Yes,
and
you
he
can.
wrote this to his girlfriend by the name of Paulette Schwartz.
On the postage stamp.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Here, look at the monitor. I'll show you again.
Yeah.
I have no. It's
Go
just.
ahead and tell us that it's what it is.
Am I? Yeah.
Picture, yeah.
Yeah, this picture is after the war in Italy. It's a displaced persons camp, and it's most people went to Israel from that picture.
Go ahead and
Yeah.
tell us about it.
Well, this picture is a friend of mine that I met in Italy. Actually, I met him in Budapest. He was a friend of my brother, actually. His name is Ari Zelovic. And there's nothing more to tell about this picture except that we were kind of friends.
Go ahead, tell
I
us.
was happy because I was a free person, and I was going to go to America. I already knew then I'm going to go to America. So that made me kind of happy. And he's a nice fellow, nice guy. This one over here is in Australia.
The gentleman sitting down.
I just got a letter from him. This one here.
Okay.
Yeah. And this one lives in my neighborhood here. He's on Miami Gardens Drive.
Really?
Very sick man. He's my cousin. He's a cousin of mine.
Oh. But
Is
okay.
this on?
Yes. Okay.
This picture was taken in Italy, also before I came to America. And the little girl that's in my arm is not mine. She's a friend of mine. She belongs to a friend of mine. And it's all my friends. Also my cousin. One of them is.
Please.
This one is my youngest son, Mike, and his son, Matthew. All I can say is I love them very dearly, and I'm very happy to have them.
What do we see
This
next?
one is Steve, my oldest son, and myself. And well, what else can I say? I just love both my sons and all my children. They're just great. And they live near me, which makes it really nice. Yes. That's good. That's
Go
good.
ahead.
That's
Tell us
good.
about.
This is my grandson. His name is Shane Boyer, And he is a fantastic little boy, and I'm so happy with him. He is just wonderful and very bright. I love him.
Go ahead. Look what they could do. Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah, they move it back.
And this is
And this is my granddaughter, Megan Boyer, and she is a fantastic kid. And I love her very much. And also very happy that they're all near me. They're my life. And that's it. What else can I say about a fantastic kid? I love him.
What was that chord? That was an interesting chord.
who is this one? You could just hold it and tell us who this is.
This is Matthew Boyer, and he is one great kid. And this is another one that I love to pieces. And I'm going to see him later, so I really feel good today. And that's it. This is a beautiful picture of him. I said enough about them, so I don't have to say anything. It's just a nice picture of them.
Okay, then we're gonna tail slate this. This is the last shot. This is tape 3 of 3 with Susan Boyer on March 23rd, 1995 in North Miami. Okay, go ahead.
My name is Goldie Weiss, and I'm interviewing Susan Boyer. Today is March 23rd, 1995.
Linda, minutes okay? Or actually it's less. Push.